So welcome everyone to our first Inspectorprenuer webinar. I am Delta, for those of you who don't know, the director of Super Inspector Training Academy. And we in the team plan on this being our very first webinar, but the first of many. So we really appreciate you all joining us this morning. Today, Blake will be going over the 4 things you need to supercharge your business for 2024. We thought this was great timing, being December. You should already have some goals and plans, but these are some last minute things you can add in to help. And he has operated several successful businesses and now wants to share what he knows with all of you guys. I will be monitoring the chat as questions come in if you have questions throughout the presentation. And then after the presentation, we'll have a Q&A session and I'll be helping with that as well. So happy Friday. And as we get started, we want everyone to do some introductions. So tell us your name, the name of your business or what you do. I know not everyone here does inspections. And then what's something fun? Tell us a fun fact about you. We can start with JJ. Put you on the spot.
All right. Good morning, JJ Peterson. Forerunner Inspections is the business. I'm your neighbor a little bit farther to the east here in Dallas. And the fun fact is that most of my IEB pod is on this webinar. So we're ready. Blake, we're ready for you.
I love it.
All right.
Welcome. Okay, Greg.
Oh, hey, good morning, everybody. Greg House, House Inspection Services, also in Dallas, and I'm also a fun fact of an IEB pod that's here for this morning.
Good to see you, Greg.
All right, Brian.
All right, good morning. My name is Brian Smith. My company is Smith Property Inspections here in the greater Houston area. And my fun fact is I was just surfing YouTube a few days ago and I saw Blake on a video and I said, hey, I know that guy. Let me listen to this. And then I saw there was a webinar included. And so that's how I just kind of found my way here this morning, just surfing YouTube.
Great. Good to see you, Brian.
Okay, Steve.
All right, good morning. Steve Cook with PCC Home Inspections, also out of Dallas. And now that Clay Houston has joined, we're only missing one member of our pod. So, fun fact, we're a group that gets together and works on our businesses usually every Friday morning. So,
Well, this is perfect then.
You guys have one of the best pods in IEB, I think.
we agree. We agree.
All right, Clay, you've been called out.
All right. I'm not sure if I'm unmuted or not here.
You're good.
Okay, I'm just not used to Teams. So yeah, from the Dallas area, and like Steve said, we're in the pod together, and know Blake from IEB.
Anita, did you figure out your sound? No? All right, you can in the chat. This is Anita. We all know, we know her. And they own Kissy Inspections. All right, well, let's get started.
All right, so I'm Blake. Were you going to introduce me?
Oh.
I'm Blake Williams. I think everybody on here knows me. So along with my beautiful wife, Angela, we founded Super Inspector about 10 years ago. And of course, now we have Super Inspector, Super Team Heat and Air Services, Super Team Pest Solutions, Super Inspector Training Academy, and Super Concierge. Some of these businesses are new. Super Inspector has been around the longest. And we've been able to scale from just me being a sole proprietor in 2013 to having over 80 team members now. And so we've learned a lot of things along the way. And so this series is designed to kind of pass on some of the things that we've learned. And a lot of this we've learned by trial and error, by failing and failing and failing over and over again. And then finally things start to get right. And so hopefully we can help you supercharge your business where you don't have to go through all the failures that we did. But failing is part of success. So don't worry about that. So what we're going to talk about specifically today is, number one, what do you want? So we're going to talk about the difference between wants and needs. And then where are your goals? Are they at the base camp or at the summit? So this is an analogy I'm going to use to show you why it's important to set big goals. And then what do I do? Once you've set your goals, how do you accomplish them? What are the things that you need to do to set in place so that you can accomplish your goals? And then how do you do that? How are we going to get those things in place and get things running smoothly? And then later on, not in this series, but in our next series coming in March, we're going to focus on the who. So a lot of you, especially if you're in IEB, you've heard Dirk say who, not how, or some of the other coaches. Focus on who. So once we get systems and processes in place, we have to put the right people in the right seats doing the right things. And that's your who. So we'll talk about that in the next webinar. And I'm going to try to move through this pretty quickly so that there'll be time to answer any questions that you have. All right, so let's talk about what do you want. There's a difference between what you want and what you need. Everybody on here has everything that they need. It's already been provided for you. We have food, we have clothing, we have shelter, we have everything that we need to survive on this planet. And some people fall into the trap when they want to accomplish big things and somebody asks them, well, why do you need to do that? It's not a need, it's a want. And so your response should be, I don't need to do it, I want to do it. And once you move your mindset from the things that I need to do to the things that I want to do, a world of possibilities opens up to you, right? So why do I need to climb that mountain? I don't need to climb the mountain. I want to climb the mountain. And if the next question is why, it's because it's there. That's why. So wants don't have to be justified. Needs always have to be justified. So move your mindset from need to want, and the world of possibilities opens up to you. I want this Lamborghini. It's okay to want a Lamborghini. You don't need a Lamborghini. It's okay to want it though. So why do you want it? Because I think it'd be cool. That's it. So you no longer have to justify the things that you're going after. You can want them just because you want them. And somebody might say, well, nobody needs a Lamborghini. You say, you're right, nobody needs it. I just want it. And in fact, me wanting a Lamborghini creates a world of opportunity. A bunch of people, the people who created that company, who work in that company, those parts, and down the line. So there's nothing wrong with things. It's okay. It's okay to want more than you need. Now let's talk about setting big goals and why it's important to set big goals. I'm going to use this analogy. If you aim too low, you're undercutting yourself. So this is Mount Everest. Anybody ever climbed Mount Everest or watched any videos about climbing Mount Everest? It's quite a hard thing, and there's a couple of different ways that you can approach it. One is you can just go to the base camp. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, you see camp there is at about 18,300 feet. So 18 feet, that's bigger than any mountain in North America. I think the biggest mountains in North America cap out at about 14,000 feet. So 18,000 feet. So if you're going to go to base camp, most people, if they're reasonably physically fit, can get to base camp. You'll have to get your gear together and you'll have to train for about 3 months to get to base camp. Now, if you look at the summit, going to the summit, you're going to get up to 29,000 feet. If you want to go to the summit, you're going to have to train for about a year to do that. And you're going to have to get all your gear together. You're going to have to put a team of people around you, and they're going to help you get to the summit. And so if you aim for about 75% of the people that aim to get to base camp, get to base camp. Now, juxtapose that to the people that get to the summit. About 10% of the people who aim to get to the summit actually get there. But what's the difference? Of those 10%, of those people that aim to get to the summit, about 90% of them get to base camp and beyond. But of those people that aim to get to the base camp, none of them get to the summit, right? 0%. So if you're aiming for the summit, it might be that you don't make it, but you will pass the base camp. You will get between the base camp and the summit 100% of the time. And so that's why you have to set those big goals, because if you set small goals, then you may surpass them, but you're really only going to get to that goal. The other thing that setting big goals does is it brings clarity. So if you say my goal this year is to increase my business by 10%, and I say, great, what are the things that you need to do to increase your revenue by 10%? You would probably come up with about 20 or 30, 40, 50 different things that you could do to increase your revenue by 10%. And it would mostly be more of the same. It would be, I can do more of this, I can do more of this, I can increase my level of activity here, I can do more advertising, so on. Not really hard to do. But if I said, all right, let's talk about increasing your business, your revenue 100%. Now, what do you need to do to increase your revenue by 100%? All of a sudden, that list gets really small, doesn't it? There's only a few things that will increase your revenue by 100%. It might require a lot of things behind it, but it really just one or two things that are going to make a huge difference in your business. So the clarity that brings, understanding this is what I need to do to move my business forward, comes in setting those big goals and setting the goal for the summit. If you set the goal for the summit, you're going to have a real clear understanding of what you need to do, and you're going to be sure to get past the base camp. So now how do we decide? We're going to brainstorm, right? So we're going to say, what do I need to do to hit that big goal? Well, let's brainstorm. Let's get some people in the room that we know have ideas and can help us brainstorm these ideas. And we're just going to make a list. What are the 5 things that we need to do to get big results in this area? And then go to the next area. What are the 5 things that we need to do to get big results in this area? Now, once we've done the brainstorming, once we have the ideas, and you got to be careful with brainstorming, right? Brainstorming, you're not trying to figure out how when you're brainstorming or who or anything. You're just throwing ideas on the wall. So there are certain types of people that are good at brainstorming, and then there are other types of people that once they hear an idea from brainstorming, the first thing that they start thinking about is what are all the obstacles and steps that I need to do to get there. Those types of people are great when you need to execute. However, when you're brainstorming, they tend to shut things down. Well, we can't do that because this, we can't do that because this, or that's going to take all these steps. So make sure that when you're brainstorming, you're just focused on ideas. You're not focused on who or how. And then once we've done our brainstorming, hopefully then we have 15 or 20 things. Let's say we have 5 big things in growth, operations, and services. Big moves that are going to get us to the summit. Now we decide what are we going to do. So the way that we do that is we're going to look at those ideas and we're going to decide which ones have high impact or low impact and which ones take high effort and low effort. And we're going to plot them on a graph like this. And so your high effort, low impact, those are your easy wins. And so just put it right there on the graph. This is a high impact, low effort thing in sales or in growth or in services or in operations. And then you might have some things that are high impact, but they take a lot of effort. Those are your big bets. They're usually more risky. They're not low hanging fruits. They take a lot of time, probably needs the owner's involvement in getting those things done. And so those go over in the upper right quadrant. Those are your high impact, high effort items. Then you have your low effort, low impact items. This is probably where you get your 10% growth from. These are things like, well, we need to set 25 appointments a week with realtors instead of 20 appointments a week, or whatever it is, more of what you're already doing, right? It doesn't take much effort to do that, and it's probably not going to have a huge impact. Then we're going to say, okay, what is low impact and high effort? Those are your money pit items. Those are things that people spend time on and put a lot of effort into, and they don't achieve big results. So now we have everything plotted on the graph. And what's the first thing that we're going to do? We're going to go after those easy wins. Let's get some easy wins in there. Let's go after the high impact, low effort items. And at the same time, decide, do we want to pursue these high effort, high impact items? And if we do, who's going to be responsible for those? Obviously, you're going to place responsibility around each one of these things to make sure that they get done. Low effort, low impact items, those are delegated or eliminated, right? High impact, the low impact, high effort items, again, we're going to forget about those. We don't want to pursue those. They're a waste of time, right? So everything in the upper two quadrants is what we're going to be focused on. What are the easy wins? And then what are the big bets? And the big bets are going to take a lot more. They're going to take a lot more planning. They're going to take a lot more effort on your part. And those are things that are like really changing your business over time. And so they're looking out over a longer horizon. Your high impact, low effort items are much shorter term goals. They're things that you can implement right away and have a big impact in your business right away. All right, so now we've kind of decided what we're going to do. These are the things we're going to do now. These are the things that we're going to be doing over a longer period of time. These are the things that we're going to either not pursue or eliminate if we're already doing those. All right, so now we have what? We've brainstormed, we've set big goals, we know what we're going to do to get our big goals, and now we start to think about how, right? Well, it starts with you. It starts with you understanding what you need to do. Are you working on the right things? Do you have your time management priorities set out to where you can focus on the things that you need to focus on? Speed of the leader, speed of the pack. So don't prioritize your schedule, schedule your priorities. And your number one priority is to work on high impact tasks, the things that are going to have the biggest impact in your business. And so how do we do that? Well, number one, we have to take a look at what we're currently doing. Are we making the most of our time right now? Do we have the free time that we want? When you start to really schedule your priorities, you will have a lot more free time. And so what we ask everybody in our leadership team to do is to track what they're doing on a daily basis for 3 to 5 days. And so you're going to do this in 15-minute increments. And so it's like, during this 15 minutes, I took a break. During this 15 minutes, I talked on the phone to so-and-so. During this 15 minutes, I went over my emails. So you begin to understand where you're spending your time. And you can do this just on a piece of paper. You can make a form, a table for this, however you want to do it. So this is, I did one of these for, this was my day on Tuesday, I believe it was. And so I started at 7:45 in the morning with our pest team. I got on their huddle. And then at 8:03, we have our leadership team huddle. At 8:15, I looked at my CEO dashboard and looked at some emails. Then at 8:30, I got on the HVAC team huddle. Then I drove to the office. At 9, I had a meeting with National Radon Defense. Then I took a break. At 10:30, I had a mentoring call with a friend of mine in Chicago who I've been doing some coaching with. At 11 o'clock, I had my hits scheduled at 11 o'clock, my high impact task. I reserved that hour to work on those. And so I was working on digital marketing content at that time. Then I had lunch, reviewed my emails, and then I had another meeting with Interplay, which is a company we're working with, and then a meeting with C&E Plumbing, and then a break, and then I went to a networking event at a title agency. Went home, had dinner, reviewed some more emails, write down my wins for the day, and then review tomorrow's schedule. So always in those 15-minute increments. And then I went back and I labeled the items that I thought were really high impact tasks. And so I had 5 high impact tasks during the day. So I spent about 4 hours on high impact tasks. So I felt pretty good about that. But what you want to do once you have 3 to 5 days mapped out, you tracked your what you've done for those 3 to 5 days, then we can take that data and turn it into information. So we're going to write down the results. So you're going to write to the left of your page, you're going to write down what the tasks were, and then how much you spent, how much time you spent on each of those tasks during the week, and total it up. You're going to see where you're spending most of your time. And for some of us, you're going to go, wow, I spend a lot of my time doing the things that I need to be doing, the high impact tasks. Or you're going to say, wow, I spent 80% of my time just doing busy work. And so once you understand where you're spending your time, then you can say, okay, why am I spending so much time on busy work, looking at emails, looking at Facebook, talking to people around the office, or not doing anything, whatever it is. And how can I spend more of my time in my high impact tasks? Well, you do that first by scheduling time for your high impact task. That's going to be about 2 hours a day that you spend just on those things. Then we're going to look at all those busy tasks. What are the things that I'm doing that I should not be doing? Right? You're going to get rid of those low impact tasks. How do we do that? Well, remember, number one, that your low impact tasks in your company are somebody else's high impact tasks. And you can think about it in this way, in the manner of pay. What is your time worth? If you take how much your income is and divide it by the number of work hours in a year, that tells you what your time's worth. And for most of us at the leadership level, that's going to be $150, $250, $300 an hour that our time is worth. And so when you say, well, right now I'm busy scheduling an inspection, say. Well, if you're busy scheduling an inspection, you're paying yourself $300 an hour to do that. Would you pay somebody else $300 an hour to answer the phone and schedule inspections? Probably not. For you, that's a low impact task. But when you bring somebody in who you're paying $20 an hour to sit down and take care of your customers, now you're paying the proper rate for that task. $20 an hour as opposed to $300 an hour. And it is costing you $300 an hour because you could be spending that time on a high impact task or free time for yourself, which is also very valuable. Most of us value our free time more than our work time. So we're going to delegate those things that are essential and need to be done to those people that can do them as good or better than we can at a lower rate. We're going to automate, right? So anything that can be automated, you should automate. You should be analyzing your systems and processes and saying, what can be automated here? Get people who are good at automation, understand automation to help you with that. ISN, if you're using that to book inspections or whatever software you're using. We use ISN, we use Service Type in our service businesses, and we use Pest Routes in our pest business. Those are automated processes. Those are softwares we've chosen to use to automate those processes. You have to look at that. There are all kinds of apps and software out there to the point where it can be confusing that will help you automate processes. Have a good CRM in place. Have a good software system that helps manage your business for you. So automate. Then there are some things you just need to eliminate. You might look at these tasks that are being done by you or others in your company and say, I don't need to do that. That doesn't even need to be done. Great, get rid of it. And then some things just need to be simplified. We're spending way too much time. This process is way too complicated. We're having to use way too many people to get this job done. How can we simplify it? Do we really need all this done? Are there things within that process that we can eliminate to simplify? So delegate, automate, eliminate, and simplificate. That's my. And one of the ways that you can look at things is how many times during the day do I get interrupted and I have to go put out a fire? Well, if you're putting out fires, that takes you away from your high impact tasks, because high impact tasks usually are not urgent. They're very important, but not urgent. And so when a fire comes in, it's easy to push those things aside and take care of the fire. And somebody in your company needs to be putting out fires, but does it need to be you? Can that be delegated? If it does need to be you, you need to think about those emergencies when they come in, because sometimes they come in and they're important, but they're not necessarily urgent, even though the person on the phone thinks that they're urgent, right? So you have to really start to think about, is this thing important but not urgent? It is important and it's urgent. It's not important or not urgent, not important but urgent. So these are all kind of judgment calls, but you just need to be really aware of thinking about things in these terms so that they don't take you away from those high impact tasks. So when the realtor calls in and says, oh my gosh, your inspector hasn't shown up yet and I'm here at the house, well, that might be important and urgent to you, right? It also might be something that somebody else should be handling for you. At the same time, if a call comes in and says, I haven't got my inspection report yet. Great, I will get that for you. You'll have it in the next hour, right? So it seems urgent to the person on the phone, but really if they waited an hour for it, it'd probably be okay. As long as you give them a time frame for something like that, then that should quell their fear, let them know that you're going to take care of it, and you can get back to doing what you were doing on your high impact task. And those are all judgment calls. You may see it a little bit different, and that's okay. But in every situation, you need to think about, do I need to do this right now? Does somebody else need to do this right now? Or can I do this later? Okay. So try to really, when you have time scheduled for high impact tasks, don't let that time get interrupted. And on your task tracker, you need to put on there interruptions. You didn't see it on mine. People don't interrupt me very much. I stay in my office, the door closed. However, if you've got people coming in your office and they come in and talk to you about something for 5 or 10 minutes, that goes on your task analyzer. And then you can put that in your task journal, interruption. So how many times are you getting interrupted during the day? And who is the interrupter? A lot of times it's the same person over and over. And you need to talk to that person about saying, hey, let's keep a journal of the things that you need to talk to me about. And then we'll schedule a meeting and we'll get together and you can go down through that list of items that you need to discuss instead of interrupting me every 30 minutes, right? So that's another tool that we use. We call a discussion planner. And that's a little list that you have. If you need to talk to somebody about something, you write it down. Then at your next meeting with that person, you have a list of the things that you need to talk to them about. So you're not constantly going in there and interrupting them. All right, now we've decided what we need to do and how we're spending our time so that we can schedule our priorities instead of prioritizing our schedule. And we need to build systems and processes. Systems and processes are what is going to scale your business. And I want to make sure that we delineate between what is a system and process and what is a policy. So a policy is a rule. A system or a process is a method of completing something, completing a task, right? A policy, I don't like to have a lot of policies in our company because they usually end up with bad customer service and bad outcomes. Think about if you've been on the phone talking to American Airlines, trying to get your ticket changed or something like that. And the answer you get back from this is, I'm sorry, that's not our policy. When you know they could very easily take care of this with a few keystrokes on their computer and everybody would be happy. So policies prevent people sometimes from doing the right thing. They take away decision-making power from the person who's in charge of customer service, because all the decision-making is, can I do this or not? What's our policy on this? Right? So give people empower people to make decisions based on customer service rather than following policies. And then let's make sure that we systemize our processes so that when you bring people in, they know what to do and how to get those tasks completed in a customer service oriented, friendly, and systemized way. All right, so how do we build systems and processes? This would take you a little bit of time, and this might be a high impact task. It might be a high effort, high impact on your graph. Build systems and processes for everything to do. You already have them. You've built them naturally just by putting your business together. But it's a good idea to look at those, analyze them, and make sure that they're optimized. So review your current processes. Are they systematized? They don't require you to be involved to be successful. If you're the one booking the appointments, then it's hard for you to work on high impact tasks. It's hard for you to grow your business. So the first question when you're reviewing a system is, do they require you to be involved? And then map out that process. Create a flow chart that shows exactly what's done at every step of the way, what decisions have to be made. What if this decision is made, I do this. If this decision is made, I do this. If the customer wants this, I go this way. If the customer wants that, I go this way. So map it out on a flow chart and define what the key metrics are that tell you when the system is successful or unsuccessful. So this is where it's going to allow you to create a dashboard of the key metrics that tell you if your company is being successful. It allows you to focus on results. So I like to say that managers focus on and hold people accountable to tasks, which is important, but maybe not for the owner. A owner or a leader focuses on results and assigns results to people. Right? So you see the difference. Rather than focusing on tasks, you're focusing on results. So you need to have the metrics that tell you, if we're hitting this percentage of capacity, if we're hitting this close rate, if we're hitting this number of calls during the week, those are metrics that tell you whether you're being successful or not. So you have to decide what those are based on the systems and processes that you put in place. So define your key metrics and put them on your CEO dashboard. Identify stress points by interviewing team members. So where are they getting caught up with the current system or process? Talk to your people. They'll can tell you where the problems are. And then you can take that part of that system and say, okay, do we need to change this? Do we need to adjust it? Do we need to eliminate this part of it? Do we need to automate it? How do we simplify it, right? And then develop a system to train your team members. That's one of the most important systems you can have. It's one of the systems, very first systems that we put in place at Super Inspector that helped make us successful. And we learned that because we failed in training the first inspector that we ever hired. I hired this guy in 2013, first inspector I ever hired. I said, great, you've got a year's experience. Here's my template. Now go out and do inspections. And that was all the training I gave him. And so it was a failure. I started getting complaint after complaint after complaint. And I ended up firing the guy. And it wasn't his fault, totally my fault. I never trained him. And so after that, I said, wow, I need to have a system in place to train inspectors so that they can be successful when they get in the field. And so we created a very simple system to do that. And it worked really well for us. Now it's since evolved. Our training system has evolved and become more purposeful, more systematized, more detailed. Mine was very simple at the beginning, but it worked for us. And so you need a system to train people so that they can be successful and be successful quickly. Because when they're not successful, it's costing money. It's costing the company money, costing time. So develop a system to train team members. Establish a system for monitoring. That's your CEO dashboard. You should be able to get up in the morning, pull up a dashboard, look at all your key metrics and say, oh, great, we had a great day yesterday. We're having a great month this month. We're having a great year so far this year. Or, wow, this is not so great. This is not so great. I need to focus some attention here. I need to talk to the who's responsible for this metric. So every metric in your business should be assigned to a person that's accountable for making sure that that metric is going in the right direction. And then design flexibility into the system. So this is, again, where I'm talking about processes, not policies. Policies don't allow for flexibility. And if you don't have flexibility, you're going to end up giving poor customer service. And then when you try to hold somebody accountable for poor customer service, their answer coming back to you is, well, I followed the policy. So they can hide behind the policy. It becomes the reason for not doing a good job. It becomes a reason for not giving great customer service. Right? You might feel protected by the policy, but really what it's doing is covering up for incompetence. So if you feel the need that you have to put a bunch of policies in place, then that tells you that you don't trust the people doing the work, that you're trying to mandate their decisions for them, and maybe you haven't done a great job hiring and training people to get them in the proper place where they can make decisions to give great customer service and move your business forward. Policies will never move your business forward. Great people working in great systems and processes are what's going to scale your business. And then focus on results, not tasks. I already talked about that. Review and adjust quarterly based on the results. Sit down with your people, go over the results. Where are we being successful? Where are we failing? Where do we need to adjust? Right? Don't be a micromanager. Micromanagers look at every task and they look at everything that's being done and they say, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And that drives people crazy. Nobody wants to work in that environment. Focus on the results. Are they getting the result? And then if you're wondering, why are they doing this or that? Maybe what they're doing outside of the system that you designed is being more successful than what you designed. So if you focus on results and then say, wow, that's a bigger success rate than what I thought we would get, then go back and look and say, wow, this person was doing this instead of this, and that really worked. Let's build that into our system. Focus on results. Don't focus on tasks. Your managers should focus on tasks. You should focus on results. All right. So how do we keep the team on track? Well, we like to use scoreboards. So this is something we learned from the 4 Disciplines of Execution, a book by Stephen R. Covey. And scoreboards are great motivators. Just think about how much people are motivated by looking up at the scoreboard. If a football game, for example, if you're in the 4th quarter and you're behind by 3 points, the team's looking up at that scoreboard, the crowd's looking up at the scoreboard, and everybody's motivated. Everybody's cheering. Come on, let's go get that touchdown so we can win, right? It's the same thing in your office. Put scoreboards based on the metrics that you want to hit and let the team create those scoreboards and put them up in the office. Some people like digital scoreboards. I really don't like digital scoreboards. I like, just a poster board on the wall with the scoreboard on it where people are going up and they're putting their numbers, they're tracking their progress on the scoreboard. It creates excitement in the room, creates excitement for everybody around there. To me, digital scoreboards are boring. They don't really, it doesn't require a lot of engagement by the people. And I think you just lose something there. We do have digital scoreboards here. I really prefer ones like this, right? So these are just different types of scoreboards you can look at. How are we going to measure that we're getting to our goal? This is what motivates people, where you can walk into the room and you can say, we're at 10,000 in sales for the month. Our goal is 15. We only need 5,000 more. What are we going to do to get that last 5,000 before the end of the month, right? So it gives you a quick walk in to motivate your team, that they can look up and be motivated. I highly recommend that you have scoreboards on the wall, even for just yourself, even if it's just you and your wife, that's okay. Or maybe for our guys that are in the Friday morning pod, maybe you guys have a scoreboard to hold each other accountable and motivate each other within your pod. And then for you, you need to keep track of where you are with the things that you want. So vision boards are a great tool for this. So at the beginning of the year, you say, what do I want to accomplish this year? What are the bucket list items I want to go do? What are the things that I want to purchase? Whatever it is, get pictures of those, put them on a vision board, put some text on there, say, this is what I want to accomplish. And you want to have that in front of you every day. And if you have it in front of you every day, then you're going to intuitively do the things that you need to do to make those things happen. It happens at a subconscious level when you write it down, it goes into your subconscious, and you will automatically be thinking about the things that you need to do to get the things that you want. Vision boards. So scoreboards for your team. Your team, individual team members can have vision boards. That's great. You can show them how to make it. It's a fun thing to do. And then vision boards for yourself, certainly. All right. So let's recap real quick. We're going to decide what we want. And why do we want them? Because we want them. We don't need them. That's okay. We already have all the things that we need. We're going to brainstorm the things that will get us there. We're going to make sure that we're focusing on ideas, not how, not the obstacles, just the ideas. And then we're going to determine what our high impact tasks are, schedule our priorities. We're going to plot those high impact, low effort, high impact, high effort items on the graph so we know exactly where our focus is. And then we're going to look at our key processes and systemize them to make sure that they are designed to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. Do I have a system to accomplish this high impact item? And then we're going to create scoreboards and vision boards to keep our team motivated. All right, so I hope you got some value out of that. We're coming up down to about 15 minutes left, so I wanted to leave this last 15 minutes to answer any questions that you have. And you can ask me questions that are off topic here, that's fine. Happy to answer anything. So Delta's going to be moderating. You can put if you have some questions in the chat or you want to raise your hand, that's fine.
I got one, Blake. Oh,
yeah. I can hear you. Go.
Okay, so so thank you first of all for, I mean, that was a lot of information packed in 45 minutes. That was awesome. My question, one of the things you mentioned was like a CEO dashboard. There was several visuals in there. I mean, can you talk about that a little bit, or what does that look like, or if we wanted to put one of those together for ourselves?
Yeah, so a lot of it depends on the person, what they like to look at. So if ISN has a dashboard. So when you open up ISN, you see, the revenue for the week, however you have, whatever widgets you have on there, how many inspections you have for the day, what the revenue is for the day, month, year, all that. And I do look at that. My own CEO dashboard is made up of a bunch of spreadsheets where I can see our revenue for like the last 6 years, and month by month, and I'm looking at our percentage growth rate. I'm looking at our month over month percentage, our year over year percentage. I'm looking at where we're tracking towards our goals. I have, my dashboard is huge. I've got on there, what our average number of inspections per agent is, what is our percentage of one and done agents, and this is on a monthly basis. So I just have a lot of those key metrics that I've created spreadsheets, and then you can turn those spreadsheets into graphs. So a great thing to have on your team is somebody who is adept at using Excel, because they can automate a lot of things. Our CEO dashboards are now all automated on Excel, where you're just putting the data in and it's automatically translating into tables and graphs and things that you can look at quickly. A VA is a good investment here if you want to use a virtual overseas assistant to update your dashboard on a daily basis. That's what we have. They put all the data in, it automatically goes over to our graphs and data. So once you've decided what your systems and processes are, and you understand what the key metrics are to tell you if those systems and processes are being successful, you put those on a dashboard. And then you decide, do I want to look at this on a day as a daily metric, a weekly metric, a monthly metric, or a yearly metric? I usually look at weeks, months, quarters, and years. And then you can either turn that into a graph where you can get a quick visual on it, or you can leave it in a spreadsheet table, which is what I like to look at. But everybody's not the same. Everybody's mind doesn't work the same. So you have to decide what works best for you. Did I answer your question?
You're on mute, Brian.
Yes, you answered the question, and it makes sense because you said, look, everybody's dashboard is going to look different. I mean, we're all at different levels, and so a lot of the things that you're looking at, I mean, some of it may be applicable to things I want to see, some of it may not. But I really like the suggestion of having a VA or someone that's really good in Excel to help automate some of that. I think so short answer, yes, you did answer the question. Thank you.
Right.
Steve?
Yeah, so my first question you answered about CEO dashboard and how far beyond CEO dashboard do you, like ISN, do you go with the CEO dashboard? So thank you, that's helpful. I noticed on your daily things you have team huddles, something that's been suggested for us, but I'm struggling a little bit to figure out, do you include everybody in those huddles, or is this just like the leadership for your inspectors or the leadership for the growth team, or if all the inspectors are there, what on earth am I talking about for 10 minutes every morning? They're just doing the same thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be 10 minutes. It can be 3 minutes, right? So we have different teams. So we have a leadership team. So we have a huddle. And then like Robert, who's in charge of super inspector, he has a huddle with the super inspector leadership team. So that's one level down from our overall leadership team. So he's talking to the super inspector, growth team leader, operations team leader, and service team leader. He has a huddle with them. And then each of them have a huddle with their teams. So Randall, who's in charge of the services team in Dallas-Fort Worth, he has a huddle with the inspectors, the lead inspectors in Dallas-Fort Worth. And then those lead inspectors have a huddle with their team. So it's usually about 3 to 5 people on a huddle. And what you're doing is you're saying, what went well yesterday? Give me 3 wins. Or what did you struggle with yesterday? Give me something you struggled with. Because now you're putting it in front of the team. They can celebrate those wins, or they can say, hey, did you try this when you were struggling with that? And then what's going on today? So how'd yesterday go, and what's going on today? And so when you talk about what's going on today, you're going to be able to see over time incremental improvements in your systems and processes. So things might come up like, well, I'm going to inspect this big house today. It's stucco with a clay tile roof. Somebody might say, hey, don't forget, you might need a drone on that clay tile roof or that cement tile roof, right? Oh, yeah, I got to make sure to put that in my truck. Well, now you just averted an emergency situation where somebody gets to an inspection, they don't have the tools that they need, and they're calling around, can somebody bring me a drone, right? So, and it doesn't seem like a big thing at the time, but it saved a pitfall, something that would have caused many people to drop what they're doing and spend time to make sure that this got taken care of. And so those are the things, the improvements you're going to get by having these huddles. Celebrating the wins helps to keep people's mindset right, so they understand that they're making progress, even though they might not be hitting their ideal, they might not be living up to everything that they want to do, but they can see that they're making progress. So progress is king. You always want to be making progress, and then averting those emergency situations. So these huddles can be very short. They don't have to be 10, 15, 30 minutes and full of deep conversations. It's just, yeah, yesterday I did 2 inspections. I finished them both on time. The realtor seemed happy. That's great. Good job. I did struggle here. You know, I didn't have a tall enough ladder to get on this roof. So next time I need to make sure that I look at my inspection ahead of time to see what the roof line's like, so that I make sure I have the right ladder, right? Little things like that. And then what am I doing today? Well, I've got to drive over to Mineral Wells for this inspection. Oh, are you going to have enough time to get back for your second inspection? Right? Did the schedule get situated so that you can do that? So these are the things that will come up in the huddle that will make small incremental improvements in your processes that may not be noticeable initially, but over time they add up to big results.
Something else we do in our huddles is we read a passage from the Daily Stoic. I put a link to that in the chat if you guys want to see what that book is.
Yeah, so Daily Stoic is a collection of writings from Stoic philosophers. It kind of follows really Proverbs. To me, it's very much proverbial. And it just helps to keep everybody centered mindset. The Daily Stoic has a daily reading, like a daily devotional. So, you know, however the culture is in your company, you can choose that, but just a little daily motivation for everybody. We usually have a little bit of commentary after reading the Stoic, but most of the time it's just silence. So it seems kind of weird, but you know, these things, you know, when I talk to our inspector team about the huddles, when we first started doing them, they did not like it. Why am I having to I've got to take my kids to school this morning. I got to drive to this inspection. You know, they throw up every type of excuse not to attend the huddle. Now that we've been doing it for a while, like over a year now, they love it. They think it's the greatest thing that we've ever done. It gets them together. It makes them feel part of the team. They're celebrating their wins. They're contributing. They're interacting with each other, and it's made a big difference.
Hey, Blake, real quick, you know, if you go back to your slide of Mount Everest and you know, we talk about aiming for the summit. Do you have any resources, or what have you used in the past to help identify, because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you've got 7 incremental steps there that go between where you're at now, because most of us are already at base camp. I mean, if we're on this call, we're probably already at base camp. So do you have any resources or anything you've done in the past to help, you know, identify and get you to those incremental points to get you to that ultimate goal?
Yeah, I think it just goes along with what we've been talking about. It's like, number one, you've got to decide what will get you there. So that's where the brainstorming comes in. And then once you've decided what, do I have the systems and processes that are going to accomplish the what? Do I have the people in place to do that? And really what we're talking about here is we want to just make sure that we're not setting goals that are so easily attainable that we're not moving our business forward up to our potential, up to the business's potential, right? So we become stagnated when we just set these 10% goals or 20% goals. 20% is a pretty good goal, but 10%, 5%, things like that. And most of us, you know, over the past 2 years have struggled to gain a 20% increase in the inspection and real estate industry, right? So don't consider yourself at base camp now. Consider base camp to be those small goals that you could put out in front of you. That's where I could be if I just did more of what I'm doing now. That's the base camp. And then beyond that is your summit. So you could say, what if I made some really bold moves? That's where the summit is. But the system, deciding what to do and then making sure that your systems and processes are in place are what's going to get you past base camp and on your way to the summit. And then those incremental steps in between, you can say with your goals, in order for us to accomplish this goal, we need to have this done and be at this level at this time. So all that's going to depend on where your goal is. So if you say, in order for us to increase our business by 100%, then by June, we need to be here. So what's going to get us there by June? So you can start to break those goals down on a quarterly or monthly basis, and those are going to be your incremental steps to those goals. So even if it's a personal goal, let's say that you want to, take 3 months off next year. Great. What 3 months are we going to take off, and how are we going to make sure that we're able to do that? Where do I need to be in January so that I can take off in July, August, and September? I need to have my systems and processes in place at least by then, but probably ought to have this system in place by the end of March, this system in place by the end of May, and so on. So it's just breaking your goals down to those milestones that are going to tell you that you're making the progress that you need. All right, well, we made it an hour, so we could have talked a lot longer. And the next Inspectorprenuer Series webinar we're going to do is going to be in March. We don't have the day set yet, but we'll let you know. And we're going to be talking about who, not how. Y'all seen that book. We have systems and processes in place in our business to bring in the right people and to try to get them in the right seat, doing the things that they feel great about doing. And so that's what we're going to talk about in our next Inspectorprenuer series. I hope you can attend. I hope you tell your friends about it. We want to fill up our Zoom. We had about 10 people on today. We'd like to have 100 people on. So if you could help us out with that, it'd be great. So thank you, everybody.